Thanks so much for joining us. I'm John Kaiser, and I'm so excited to bring today the artist Donald Layne to walk you through how you can actually make some very high-end bags using materials from places like Materials for the Arts.
Right, and that's you hit the nail on the head when you said high-end materials, because I've gotten leather. I don't know if I should say people's names or not, but I've gotten some leather from some very high-end designers in New York City, and it's a good thing because most of the people that I know that are the designers, they can't afford to get that kind of the quality there. You can't get it, and I mean to walk through here like you're walking through a supermarket and say, "Wow, look that I saw that in what you call them's magazine." That's what it is, you know, and good stuff.
So, I mean, part of I know a little bit of your story and your motivation, but you know, could you just maybe start by just telling everybody, you're going to show everybody how to make, you know, some techniques of how to make bags, how to you know, get some of the gear that might be affordable to make that possible, and some of the tricks of the trade in terms of the tools, etc. But I'd just love if you could share with everybody just a little bit of maybe the story about how you first got aware of how it's possible. You don't have to go get it; you can make it yourself.
Right. I was shopping in the village about 30 years ago, looking for a nice shoulder bag, and I went to one on I forgot what street it was on, but I went there and the guy said $350. I go, come on, I can make this. No, you can't make this. My father in the old country. I said, listen, what about a leather? And at that time, Soho was a leather center for New York City. So he showed me to. I went there, got some leather, sat down, looked at it for a while, held it, felt it, told me what the spirit wanted it to be. And about 2 weeks later, I came back to him with the bag. He said, no, you didn't make that. You bought that somewhere. I said, no, I made it. He said, no, my father taught me 30 years. It took him 3. I said, but I made this. He looked over the bag. He said, well, he said, would you come work for me? I said, no, I got my own calling now. And I started out making very simple, what I call hippie bags. And as I got more into it and started looking at the design of bags, I said, you know, I can do that. You know, I can do this. And I started getting my own design, my own creativity into it, certain bags, and people started liking it.
So, you know, you it seems like there's a very meditative personal process that you have when you're making the bags. You know, besides just being able to have bags, like, you know, why do you enjoy that experience?
I enjoy the work and the creativity, and above all that, I love when I tell somebody, "Here, there's a bag for you. How much you want for it?" It's free. Why is it free? I said, because I got the materials free. It makes no sense to me. And I, like I told you once before, there's a passage in the Bible where Jesus was sending out his apostles, and they had just received the Holy Spirit. And he told them, he says, you received free, give free. So when I come here and I get something, leather, beads, chains, and I sit down and I create something, I put a person in mind for it, and I give it to them. You ever know, I don't want no money, just take it and enjoy it. And when I give it to them, I feel like I'm selling my children, but I'm happy to see the happy look on their face.
That's right. I mean, it's a lot of like literal time and energy and creativity. But you're also describing this process of like feeling the materials, and it's like a very organic process.
Yeah, I do. I'm a carpenter. I make jewelry and all this kind of stuff. And when I make a formal dining room table, I use exotic woods. And I go to the lumber yard and I look at the and I'll actually caress the wood like this. And I say to myself, tell me what you want to be. What part of this table do you want to be? I want to be the center board of the table. I mark center board. What do you want to be? I want to be the 2 ends. Okay. I want to be the bench. I want to be part of the bench. I want to be like the bench. And I have yet, out of the 15 or 20 dining room sets I've made, I've never went wrong. Whatever piece of wood said they wanted to be there when they were there, it was never a problem. It cut right, it sanded right, it molded right, it stained right. It was if it says, okay, everything you did here is exactly what we wanted to be. And I've never had an unhappy customer, and I've never been unhappy with the work I've done myself. And I do it to this. I do the same thing with leather.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It seems like a feeling of, so I could see it being intimidating for people. You know, like I gotta cut this good piece of wood. I gotta cut this good piece of leather.
I already know what it's gonna be when I cut it.
Yeah, and you're like letting go of some of that. You know, am I doing it right or wrong? No, I'm doing it right.
And
feeling it. Like, I love that.
And the extension of that, even when I come here, sometimes I'll walk down the aisle and someone goes,
like a material.
Yeah.
It's like calling to you.
No. A lot of the bins here, you don't see the leather, but if you go over there and give it the scientific smell, there's some leather down in there. I can smell it, and I reach down there, and it's always a nice piece.
Wow.
Always a nice piece, and that's the way I keep it. For me, it's kind of a spiritual thing. You know, I want to make sure I'm giving back to what the animal gave to me. You know, it's not just I'm just taking it and throwing it away.
Right on.
That's it.
Well, I mean, I think hopefully that's kind of inspiring for you folks watching, the idea that, you know, this it's not just, you know, copying it, it's actually putting yourself into it and having that hopefully really meaningful experience with it. So thanks so much for coming and offering your techniques.
And the main thing is never tell yourself you can't do it.
I mean, we're always interested in trying to think of the different ways that, you know, these reusable materials kind of call out, and you're literally listening to them. So it's awesome.
And I appreciate the place and the opportunity to come in and do this and get these type of fabrics, because right now, because of the pandemic and the economic situation, there are not a lot of young designers who have access to the stuff that's here. You know.
And I know you work with advocating for different designers.
Yeah,
is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I usually when I pick up stuff from here, like I don't work that much with fabric, but when I get a piece of fabric, once again, I want you to take me to Gwendolyn. Really.
Awesome.
Okay.
It's
Gwendolyn.
awesome. It's really inspiring.
I got this, but I didn't ask you for it, but here.
You know, just a gentle way of looking at the whole process, taking that intimidation and make it like a dance or like an organic thing.
A lot of times I'll have things in mind. I'll have one thing in mind that I want to make, but as I'm walking by, I'll turn around and see something else. See, when I'm going for leather, a lot of times things are in the bag here, and you can't see it, so you have to do the scientific smell test. And sometimes you'll find a piece of leather or something useful. And it's telling me what it wants to be. The spirit of it is telling me what it wants to be. I look at it and I go, Now this is a nice piece. It's a lizard embossed leather, and looks like it's got a nice softness to it. It's not really stiff, so I'll be able to make some nice, easy looking bags out of this. And we'll try to make one tonight. So I took this. And this would be for something else like this. Like this, so. And a lot of times you can take, say for example, if I find a piece of leather that's this color, I'll match the two together. The bottom half leather, the top half like a carpet bag. So I just came back from shopping in the warehouse, and this is the leather I found. It's a lizard embossed leather pattern in sort of a tan, creamy color, and it's very soft and pliable. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what kind of bag I can make out of this tonight. I think between now and the time I end, you can have something that really resembles a bag, and it's going to be very easy for me to show you how to do this. Okay? So this is the leather. Now, usually the first thing you do once you get the skin, you want to see how much you have on here. There's quite a bit on here for any bag I want to make. So I'm going to lay this out like this, and see if I got to wait. Yeah, I got to wait. Now, what I want to do now is determine how big I want the bag to be. and everything works in halves. If you have 10 inches, 10-inch length of space, it's gonna, 20-inch space, it's gonna make a 10-inch bag. 10-inch bag is about like that. And usually what I do with mine is I fold them over to make them look like a paper bag so they have a flap. So that's, we're gonna try and figure that out today. So the first thing I wanna do is measure this over. I want the bag to be at least 8 inches wide. 8 inches here. 8 inches there. Because the main thing you want a square bag or a rectangular bag. You don't want it to be off-centered. So usually I use a square, but this has already been squared off, so you're good. I'll go up here, 18 inches. So I've marked off the basic shape that I want that strip to be in. Now there's 2 ways we can cut things. We can cut things with a scissor, if the fabric is light enough. But the problem with the scissor is when you cut with the scissor, sometimes the edges, when you stop and start, get a little jagged. So I usually like to use the razor. It gives you a nice clean cut. And when you're working with a razor, you always gotta make sure it's a sharp blade, because if not, it'll just snag. So I put this here. I put this here. And you cut along the line. But you have to make sure that you put even pressure on the blade so it doesn't switch on you. On the straight edge so it doesn't switch. Put it here and drag it down. See? And then you take it here, because I'm making 2 pieces. Take it here and drag it across. So now I have 2 bags that I'm going to do. Now I showed you the one with the razor. This is a fabric cutter. It's electric. And the good thing about this is you always get a straight cut. Sometimes with the razor blade it tends to wobble around and get, but the fabric cutter will always give you a straight cut. Now this is a big one. It's not the biggest, it's like a mid-sized one. And then there's one that's handheld that you can use to cut your fabric or cut your leather, whatever you want to do. You can even cut your fingers if you're not careful. So, with this, turn it on. It's almost like I didn't do anything at all. It just pushed through. So now I have these 2 big pieces right here. And now I want to see what I can do with it. I plan on taking this and folding it to here to make a bag about this. Because when I finish, the bag should look like this. But it's not going to be flat. See, it's not going to be flat. I'm going to show you some tricks to do with this. Now, once you do this, the very first thing you want to do is put sort of like a seam or rim on the top. So I'm going to make a rim here. It's going to be 1 inch. So you mark 2 inches. You go across. You do the same thing on the other one. Now what these do, they give you a little body at the top, so you just have something to, you know, hold over and fix it right if you want to. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some glue. This type of contact cement or rubber cement is the best thing to use because it will hold your leather even if it gets wet. It's that strong. You want to use a ventilator. Make sure you have good ventilation when you do this. Now most times these rubber cements come with a brush, and what you do with the brush is you brush it on. That doesn't work good with leather. You need something hard like a pallet like this. And what you have to do is when you put the glue on there, you have to actually push the glue into the nap. Just like that. You gotta push it in. Because if you just brush it on the top, it'll hold, but it'll come loose at the first time there's any kind of real pressure on it. So when you see the nap get dark like that, you know for a fact you've gotten all the way down. Now the nap on the back of this is very shallow, so it's not that bad. But on thicker highs, the nap in the back is very thick, and you have to make sure you push it all the way in through it. Now what you do now is you let it dry for a minute or two till it becomes sticky, and that's where it gets the name contact cement, because once it makes contact, that's it. You're done. There's no more pulling it apart. This is the same stuff they use to make Formica for wood tables. Same type of glue. When you touch it, if it's not sticky anymore like it is here, you know that it's ready. I'm going to push it ahead because we stress for time, but we use the point. So once it's dry to the touch, all you got to do is take it and push it over like this to the same line. Now you want to get something that's hard like a piece of a piece of wood, and push it down like that, so there's no air at the top of it. If you're working with thicker pieces of, I did have a pair of hammers. I did have a hammer up here, didn't I? Anyway, you can just bang it down. That pushes it into it. Okay. So now when you see it this way, you see the edge is finished. It's not like this. So this gives it a little bit more body and a little better look. So now what you want to do is, depending on whether you're going to sew it with a machine or whether you're going to sew it by hand, and most of the machines, even like this one here, is strong enough to sew leather. They won't tell you that, but it is. If you use the right type of needle, you can actually stitch the leather. But I'm going to show you how to do this by hand today. This is a 3-hole punch for stitching. Now some of them come 3, 6, they even come really wide, but for now I'm just going to show you how to use a 3-inch one. And what you want to do is, you want to start about 1/4 inch from the edge. Put it there and hammer it down. Then you take the next tip and put it where the last one started. Finished, like this. See? And good there. So this way here they always stay equal distance apart. When I first started making bags, I used to make my bags late at night, and that sound would keep my wife up. So now you're at the edge. And now, so when I do this here, you're gonna see the way the stitches go on the outside. This would be good for a small lady's clutch, but I'm gonna show you how to turn it into a bag after we do the few stitches over this way. The type of thread you want to get is called beeswax Nyltec nylon. It's very strong. And then you want to get most of the stuff that you see here can be purchased on Amazon. And you don't have to run all over the city like I used to have to do years ago to find what I need. Everything is right here. So the type of needle that we're going to be using for this, since this is already punched, is a round tip. You see that there's no point on the needle. It's round. Because the hole is already made and all you got to do is go through the hole. See? No pushing. No stress. So you thread it just like you do a regular needle. But the only thing is you're not going to be using 2 strands, you're going to be using 1 strand. And always try to give yourself more thread than you think you'll need, because it's a pain when you get halfway through the bag and you don't have enough thread. So the first one you're going to do is through the back here. Did I make a hole there? Yes, I did. So you're going to go through the back. Bring it around. You're going to go through again just to lock that stitch in. Then you're going to put these 2 together. And you're going to go through the top hole of this one. If I made a top hole in that one. Yeah, there we go. Then you're going to go through here one more time. Now that pulls it tight. And then all you have to do then is go to each successive hole. Sometimes they're a little hard to see because of the pattern. But once you get through, you can see how it's going. Just around, over round stitch. So mainly the process that you want to do is you just want to get these 2 pieces joined together. That's the most important thing. Because once it's joined together, it's never going to come apart. You know. And there's fancy ways you can do this, but when I started out, I just started out with this. You see? Almost like a moccasin. So when you thread it out this way, it comes all the way down to the end, and you have a flat bag. Now, if I was to take this around this way here, and do it on the back end, same way, same stitch. What I can do later on is I can still show you. Because in actuality, you can actually make a leather bag just by gluing it together. So I'm gonna take this stitch out. I'm gonna cut my fingers off. I'll use this one. And what you do is you put a stream of glue on the side of the bag. I'm using the face side because I want to use the back side to show you what I want to do. So what you have to do with stuff like this is you have to rough this edge because it's got all leather has a coating on it. You're going to rough the edge just enough where the glue will stick to it. And I'll take my little thing right here. I'm really going to use this one. I'll use it because it's got the hem on it already. What you do is you rough up like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch space here, and you take the glue. You just make a dab across here, a line, just like that. See, in order for this glue to work, it has to be on both pieces. So you got to do the whole line right down here. And the good thing about it is, because there's a coating on here, when the glue dries, it rubs right off. You don't have to put any kind of chemical on it. Now, while this is drying a bit, we're going to go on to another aspect of making your bags. It's always good to make your straps match your bag, but sometimes you can't do that because it's not enough leather. So what I did is I took 2 pieces of this, glued them together like this so it matches both sides. Now I can take this and sew it on the machine to get a stitch look here like I would do with that one, or you can take it and you can make it a thin strap. This is called a strap cutter, and it does exactly what it says. It cuts straps, and it'll cut a slice down here to make it 1 inch, 1/2 inch wide. You know, this way here you can make as many straps or belts or laces as you want, depending on how you want to embellish your bag. You see, so it's most, the only thing that holds you back when you're making bags is your own imagination. You know, you can look at something and say, you know, I think I can do this with it, I think I can do that with it. And that's the only thing that holds you back is your imagination. And then once you get the bag finished, it goes down to your creativity. Do I want to put a chain on the bag? Do I want to put a strap on the bag? Do I want to make my own type of clasp for the bag? And so I think this should be dry enough right now. So just like I did before with the 2 pieces, I put them together. And they stick. Now, if you had enough time, you could do this and actually make a bag out of this. So we've got this over here like this. We pretty much got our bag. Remember when I did it before, this is on the outside. But what you do now is you take this and you pinch it here. pinches there. Now when you put these two pinches together, what you get is a bag with a bottom on it. So you'll do, and I'm doing this without measuring it too much. Once you've done that, take your needle once again, and what you're going to do is you're going to go in and out over here. And all you want to do is go in and out.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
So when you sew it on the inside and you sew the bottom, you get this type of finished look here. Where before it was a flat look, like a clutch. Now you have some body to it, like you do this one. This bag I made for my wife 30 years ago. And you can see it's still holding up. Better than Fendi and and the rest of them. So this here, if I turn it inside, you can see where I did the stitching like I did before. So it's just a simple over and under stitch. And because it's on the inside of the bag, you don't see it, but the bag looks finished. You see, and you have this piece here. So instead of being a flat bag, now you got a bag with some body to it. And what you normally have to do is put something in the bottom to make it rigid so it holds up and it doesn't sag. And I mean, if I had the time, I could do this in about maybe 2 hours without having to explain everything. But you can sit down, and this is one of those type of things where you do it on the evening when you want to get some rest. You know, you want to do something, you rest. There's no rush. And it's very stylish. See?